I am seeing investors closing, trying to sell properties after the fact. The cash flow is not there. The rental market's obviously coming down, and they're still just like, what do I do with this thing? So there is a spot where they're kind of trapped. They can't sell. They literally can't sell.
Here we go, TJ. Once again,
live from Shelter.
Saturday night from Shelter Furniture on Caledonia. Come on down, TK. Come on down, everybody. We need
How's
to
it
get
going,
rid
though?
of some.
Are things
It's
getting sold?
no, they're not. Some things are. We had wonderful fans of the show that saw that live thing that I put up a few days ago, came in, bought some stuff.
Hope they got a good deal.
Well, they got a great deal, and apparently somehow on the way home, something broke, so we gave them their money back for that thing. Listen, final sale is a final sale, but they're friends of the show. We didn't want anybody talking shit, right? Because
Yeah,
we got this stuff's gotta go. Listen,
yeah.
it's all gotta go, TK. But
Oh my God.
we're in good spirits. We did an inventory. You know, things are in position to get rid of because we are done. We
There we
are
go.
done. But anyways,
On
listen,
with the show. You know, right now we have a lot of clients who have furniture at home and they say, "Oh, I'm gonna, sell the furniture and I'm gonna da 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 da." And I'm telling you right now, the used furniture market ain't so hot. All right. Good luck trying to
yeah,
get anybody to pay you any money. Otherwise, they'll say, "Will you deliver? Where are you?"
yeah,
London, Ontario.
yeah. That's
You
the
know,
best.
it's
That's the
like,
best.
I'm okay.
You go
But
on
that's what's going on.
Facebook Marketplace, you put up like a blender or something, and people
Yeah.
want you to deliver it to Mississauga for some
Yeah.
fucking stupid reason.
I don't
Well,
blame
listen,
them for asking.
I don't blame them for asking
I
either. I
mean,
mean, if you don't ask, you don't get. This is
yeah,
the
70% off and delivered to my door. This is pretty good. But it just shows how lazy people are. Like Amazon has really like changed the landscape of how we buy stuff.
oh yeah,
Like one, it makes it way too easy. So the fact that you can just spend that much money and
oh
have
yeah,
like all the things that are on your mind right now, like most of the things that are on my mind right now, I don't actually need. That whole buffer between me getting to the store and actually buying it was a safety measure.
I
It was a
suppose
def
in
it was a
retrospect,
def it
yeah.
was a defense mechanism amongst my impulsivities.
Well, it's like one lazy, I guess, superseded the other lazy, right? Because
Yeah.
the want to not go do it saved you money. And now, not only does it not save you money and make it easier for you to do, but if you actually compare it to the price of the same product in other places, it's actually not less expensive. In most cases, if you actually price match, it's more expensive on Amazon, but nobody gives a shit, right? It's
Because it's convenient.
$4.
Well, they learn
Same.
that. They
Well,
learn that. Initially, it was like we better make it cheaper, otherwise no one's going to buy it, and we don't have a
right.
store, we don't have rent. But eventually,
Right.
they're like, and I don't know this because I'm not in the Amazon business, but I imagine
No,
at
you're
some
not.
point they raised prices to the point of let's see how long they can,
Get
let's see
away
how
with
far we
this.
can raise it and see how long
Yeah.
we can get away with it.
Push
The other
it.
thing they do a lot is like multiple products, and so they'll have like multiple products that are all like very similar or the exact same at different
Same.
prices.
Yeah.
And so like you click on the one on the top because you're like,
Well, you don't
oh,
know. You
that's
don't know.
exactly what I need. And it seems like
You-
it's a good deal. But if you just scroll down or went to page two, there's a better deal.
There's a better deal, maybe.
There's a better
Or,
deal.
yeah, or it's completely fraud. But anyways, TK, I don't know what this has to do with anything, but it has to do with something.
Buying
The-
stuff. So, what I was trying to say was the furniture stuff. People don't want it
Furniture's.
anymore. Yeah,
It's a
like
brutal market.
people don't want like when you're selling your home and it comes time to get rid of the stuff. Good luck. I just had a client with an estate sale, young and comer, and it was 19 months they were in probate. And then like 3 months ago maybe they got it. So almost 2 years. And he's like, I just talked to him last week. He's like, we finally got rid of the last stuff.
Oh my
And
God.
he had to
See?
drive from Mississauga to Young and Comer in order to be able to meet these people and have a garage sale and price this and price that. And he was good and he worked hard and he got every dollar he could, but not everyone's
Yeah.
got the patience to do that.
No. Well, or the inclination. right? I mean, it's only worth so much. So, I mean, I guess it depends how much you value your time, right? And this is the
I
thing.
think he's retired. I think he was off work. He's in the movie business, so he's off work right now.
Yeah, so then you got time to like get maximum dollars, even if it takes you 20 years to do it.
Can I can
But
I update
this,
you on a story from last week?
sure, what
What was
was the
what you're gonna
story?
say? What were you gonna say
Well, I
something
was
there
just
that's
going to
really
say
important?
this whole furniture market in general is a
Yeah.
bloody disaster. There's like old timers popping by to see if my father-in-law's here that are just singing the blues, you know.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
one guy came in yesterday, said, "Oh, 14 of my good customers just closed the doors, you know, in the
yeah,
last few months."
yeah.
And I know, you know, obviously we're closing the doors, but this has nothing to do with the market. I mean, the market's shit. That's
I'm
why he
sure
started
if this
closing the
place was
doors.
booming, it'd be a different story. Someone would be
No, but
taking over.
listen, where you going?
What should the people do?
What?
Yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I'm double subscribed. Do it yourself. Didn't get to fix the show, though. Didn't get to fix the show.
No, nobody wants this, even if it was booming, right?
Yeah.
This is like it's got to die.
Yeah.
People could have had it at many points in time. It was, we've all been in the
He's got a
business and
great
all.
reputation though. Talking to my friend there in the business, he's got like one of the best
Yeah.
eyes for furniture in the GTA. He's like a legend of the game.
He's a legend. He's an absolute legend, and it's a
Yeah.
shame that you know, things are working out the way that they're working out. But
Yeah.
hopefully, it's over soon because it's a giant burden.
For
and
you.
the furniture market is not getting better. Listen, I have other people I know in the furniture business, and they're
Yeah.
closing locations or moving locations to smaller locations to try and make it work. This guy's, you know, crying that he's an importer. I mean, I don't know what the hell he's doing anymore. He's basically screwed. But
Mhm.
the whole market is just gone basically, and especially because you only really need furniture. I mean, you need the odd piece here and there to fix something that's broken or shit, or like you just can't stand looking at, or it's so bloody old. But for the most part, it's when you buy a new place or you move to a new place, people buy furniture, and that's like not happening, right?
Mhm.
People are barely buying. No one's buying
Housing market
new.
and furniture business is tied hand in hand since the 2022 market. I was talking to my client who I'm actually listing a property for him right now for the exact same reasons your family's going through their furniture business struggles.
Yeah.
And it just dropped off. Interest rates went up, volume went down, business fell off the map.
Well, it's the competition changed, right? The big guys came in, the websites came in,
Mhm.
and they made it convenient, easy, and less expensive. And it's like the middle class of people. The
It's like crap
middle,
furniture though. People want
well, it's
crap
all
furniture. These people want crap furniture, Daryl. That's what it is.
no,
These
there's no
examples,
such.
my client's store and that, and your father-in-law's store were examples of like this like designer trendy stuff that, you know, people who bought it were very like proud to say where they bought it from and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Right,
Yeah.
right. But
But
at
now
the
with
end of the
Wayfair
day,
and everything else, it's
yeah.
just, you know, garbage crap
It,
stuff.
even here, I mean, not that it's garbage, but I think most furniture that is created now is garbage. It's made totally different, and it's made to be at like a price point that people can actually afford. And right, as money gets more valueless, the price of furniture can't really change because people's wages don't go up, right? So
Yeah.
it's like it's the same thing as housing. I mean, listen, when I really worked in the store, to find somebody that would buy a whole house of furniture, it was like an anomaly, right?
Yeah.
Because people can't afford a house and the goddamn furniture at the same time,
Yeah.
right? Now maybe it's different, but I
What
still
do you
think
mean?
even now, don't people? Well, because I think
People are
at
making
least
their own
when
furniture, Daryl.
right,
They're deassembling the old stuff and trying to
and
find a new way to put it together to create something new. They can't afford to buy new
well, it
stuff.
used to be that the market was so good and everybody had like disposable money that they could like buy new furniture when they moved up to their new, more expensive house, right?
You
And
better.
it was
If
like
you can't
part,
afford if you can't afford new furniture, you can't afford the new house. You shouldn't
well,
like you should step down the house a little bit if you're gonna buy
you'd think,
that
right?
house. Yeah.
Well, it depends. I mean, in certain price points over time, like the more, I wish I bought a more expensive house the first time I bought a house, right? Because I would have
Yes.
made so much more money on that first
Just no
house than I
furniture.
actually did. Well, maybe, I mean, in my case, we didn't have to pay for furniture,
Okay. Well, listen.
but
Enough
there's a
furniture
lot of
talk for a
people.
second.
Are you looking for the best merch store on the planet? Well, we got the shit for you. coming in at low prices where we barely make any money off of whatsoever, you can get the greatest real estate merchandise on this platform. Just look at this very flamboyant man putting on this great stuff. He looks great, he's dancing great, and boy does he look sexy in that merchandise. I tell you, buy this for anybody, you buy this for yourself. You will be not only repping the greatest Canadian real estate podcast in this world, but you will also be looking hella good doing it.
That's right.
And I'll give you the recap of the story from last week. My 92-year-old
What was the
client,
story? Oh,
the
yeah.
92-year-old Italian guy. He's in the nursing home.
Nice guy. Yeah.
So we listed it at a price that was very attractive, and we got well over asking, and the offers came in, and unfortunately it was not to his satisfaction. So then I had the choice this week on, they're like, we take it off the market or da-da-da-da-da, it's never going to happen. And I'm like, oh, great, what do I do? Well, I got so many people calling me still. So I said, you know what? Okay, I'm not even going to change the price. I'm not going to take out the offer date and the broker remarks. I'm going to do it just like, I'll tell everybody the truth. When people call me, they're going to say, is it still available? That's the first question. And I'm going to say, yes. And I'm going to say, we got this many offers on offer night. I can't tell them what those offers are, but I can tell them we got this many offers. I can tell them what the seller's expectations are. And I can tell them that it's still showing and that it's 24 hours notice because there's a tenant. So I said the same thing over. I was like a robot all week. Everybody, I'd pick up the phone and say, hey, TK Butler. Hey, TK, it's Jim from Central. You're calling about such and such place. Yeah, how did you know? Just because I'd be getting 3-4 calls a day, like random numbers, right? So bottom line is people kept showing it. I started getting more offers. And they kept on getting higher and higher. And I kept telling people, they said, no, we want it, we got it. But they're still negotiating. They're saying, we want this price. Your guy's crazy. He's never going to get it. Da, 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 da. I said, look, I got a guy in a home. I never met him, never talked to him, can't show him the comps, can't explain things to him, can't tell him about the tariffs and all the market changes and the renewal crisis or anything like that. I said none of those things because the agents are trying to educate me. They're like, well, doesn't he know about the tariffs? I'm like, listen, I have zero communication with this guy.
Well, hold on a sec. Hold on. Back up a sec. Tell me, this is going to be interesting. How are other agents using tariffs to their advantage in these discussions?
What are they saying? Agent. They're
what are they saying?
Doesn't he know that the tariffs are going to collapse the market? Doesn't he know that the market conditions right now, anybody getting an offer like this should be lucky?
Why are you buying? Yeah, why aren't you telling your clients not to buy then? Oh.
Yeah, if it's such a bad market, don't you think your clients should just rent? Yeah. So anyways, it's all stuff. And I'm just like, listen, I got no communication with this guy. All I'm hearing from the Sons, if he doesn't get this number, he's not taking it. And that's it. And they're ready to take it off the market if they don't. So I just kept going. And because I kept on getting showings and calls every day, I said, I'm not going to change the price. This is getting activity going. And I kept getting offers. So it was no longer like an offer date. It was just like each day or two, I'd be getting in a new offer, people asking me questions.
So
finally, I went skiing, snowboarding yesterday at Mount St. Louis. And an agent had sent me an offer the night before. And I sent it to my clients in the morning before I went. And as I was going down a black diamond ever so carefully so I don't break my collarbone, my seller accepted the offer that we got, which was a fantastic price. And
was it at the number?
He was right for holding out. And good for him. Now, we got a home inspection tomorrow, which is Saturday. Don't know what's going to happen. But
hold on. So did you actually get to his price?
He got his number.
He got his number. And hold on a sec. What was the price point again? Like around? Give me like
under
a range.
1 million.
200,000. Under $1 million.
Yeah.
For what type of product? Is it a house?
Detached bungalow.
It was a bungalow. Right. Okay. And so that kind of action slowly creeping up the price. Wow.
It was a garage in the backyard that was on a corner
garage.
lot. Yeah. And the corner lot you could access from the side streets to go into your massive double car garage with its own driveway. So you had this amazing contractor warehouse thing in an area full of 25 foot lots. Every other lot you had shared driveways and mutual drives and narrow private drives to be able to get to your backyard where you might have a single car garage.
Yeah. So how does this whole thing compare to like other properties you're working on right now?
Busiest listing I had obviously this week. I sold
Busiest
another
listing.
one this week too.
Oh,
that was
hold on
downtown.
one sec. Hold
Yeah.
on. What was the price versus peak for that thing? Like what percentage lower than
Good
peak did we sell it
question.
at?
Probably my best guess would be 15% lower.
15% below
Yeah.
peak. And so the guy was right at 15% below peak. Can you tell us the area of the city?
Like Central West.
Central West. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. So that's good. So what is there demand on other properties that you're working on?
Eglinton West, we'll say. Yeah, no, because it was just
No.
that garage made it really special.
The
Otherwise, there's
garage.
other properties sitting and there's other options and other sales to say the comps didn't add up. That's why agents were so upset with me. They were all saying like, "What is he doing asking for this much money?" I said, "Look, this is what he wants.
Wow.
What are you going to tell him? He's in the nursing home. What do you want me to say?" And the best part
Listen.
is, honestly, I got to use this strategy more often because first of all, it was the truth, but second of all, no one was mad or called him greedy. Everyone was just like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, 90 years
Yeah,
old,
the
man.
old
Yeah. He
fucker.
just wants
Yeah.
his money. Old Italian guy. He wants his money.
Sure.
Who blames him? That's a
Sure. Who
strategy
blames
you
him?
got to use every time you sell a house now. You just got to be, look, my seller's 92 in a home. I just
Yeah.
saw your seller. He's like 40 years old shoveling snow outside. Nah, that's his son.
Yeah.
All right. He's 92. He's in a home. And he says he wants
Right.
this number. Otherwise, it's his last wish. Everyone's
Yeah.
like, I get it. I get it. I get it. So anyway, that
Well,
worked.
listen.
We'll see.
But like
We got conditional offer here. Don't jinx it, Daryl. I haven't sold nothing
I'm
yet.
not going to jinx it, but I think it's just, I guess it's right product, right area, and there's still demand for the good stuff, right? I'm
Yeah.
talking to people every day, and the general consensus, at least in the new development space, is that there's only one thing moving, right? Luxury, boutique, end user product. That's it. It's
Beautiful.
the only part of the market that's moving.
That has a chance to move. Yeah.
No, and listen, guys are sitting there, with stuff on the shelf and zoning new stuff and trying to figure out what to do with old stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of people trying to figure out what to do with a lot of things.
I
And
know.
there's a lot of people gearing up for a lot of people that are not going to be able to close. Like
Well,
there's a
the one
lot of panic.
downtown that I sold, I showed you that site. We sold it to the developer next door. It's a purpose-built rental, and they've
Mhm.
been doing purpose-built rentals since 2017.
It seems like everything's a
Chinese developer.
purpose-built rental, right? Well,
No, but
listen, guys.
they're ahead of they're well capitalized, and
Yeah,
they've been
guys
just
that
only. They said we've never ever looked at condos. They said everyone tells us to do condos. We're like we've been doing purpose-built rentals in London. Then they came
Right.
over to Toronto. Yeah.
Well, but they had just slower, more patient money, right? And most
Yeah.
people in Toronto were like, we got to get in, we got to get out, we got a big chunk, and it's like foolproof and let's
Yeah.
go. But people like, I guess there's a few other little guys and Fitzrovia and
They saw
Starlight, like,
the writing was on the wall. Get the
well,
money.
they
and,
just figured out how to do it right earlier,
Yeah.
right? And they figured
Yeah.
it was worth doing and there wasn't much competition. Now it's literally you're looking for like a rental product to make a purpose-built rental, or you're looking for a luxury boutique site.
Mhm.
You know, I know a guy who might have a couple of those who may or may not just have got lucky, right? But really, this is a coveted thing right now to have something that can actually launch and sell.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing because
Well, there are more launches right
townhouses
now.
maybe.
I know you. I
Yeah.
know you had said you didn't hear that, but the
For
emails,
what?
the social media ads, all that kind of stuff right now is rampant
what?
for
I don't
everything. I
see
mean,
anything. I'm
I
on all
told you,
those lists. What kind of sites though?
I'm
Like houses,
everything. No, there's condos too. There's condos too.
condos,
I don't
like
pay
in
attention that much
Toronto,
to them. Yeah, I don't pay attention too much to them because I couldn't care less about pre-construction.
sitting
But
inventory.
I'm getting
I don't
lots of
see any
inventory.
launches.
I'm getting lots of emails about it.
Well, this is all fine and dandy, sir, but we have
Mm.
like one of the biggest stars in Canadian real estate YouTube fandom or stardom, I suppose. This guy is on, at the very
it-
least, the #1 show on Sundays
Oh my
and a
God,
certain time
we
slot.
got Tom's story.
We have Tom Story on the show today.
Oh my God, I'm
Luckily,
so excited. I'm a fanboy.
oh, we have, I mean, this guy's all the rage. If If you're talking
Oh,
Canadian real estate, you're talking about Steve Karish. If you're in,
Steve. Yeah. Hey,
if you're in our,
Steve. All right. I knew it was you.
Who
How
we,
are
what were
you?
we talking about?
we're
How are you?
talking about you. You're like
We got the best
the
guest
guy.
we could have asked for. We were exactly who we wanted. We love you, buddy.
I don't know if that's true, but I
We're
appreciate
messing
it.
with you. How are you?
Jesus.
We've had
Good.
a little war going back and forth, Steve. Let's settle the score here. We concede to your number one spot.
That's
You guys
right.
have
You
been
guys are
beating
the
us for the
best.
last couple months, so I don't know. There's not much we can say about that on the main channel. So good for you guys. We tried our best.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we are. I don't think the last few weeks have gone our way, so the battle shall
The last couple
continue.
months, the last couple months, you guys are definitely up.
I'm wearing
we-
my Steve Karish.
We tried to tell people, like we said, listen, guys, watch us, please. But they just can't get enough of you guys.
Yeah, should we trash talk each other a little bit so you guys can edit it in at the beginning, make it look like we're fighting?
It's okay. People know that we love each other. There's too much
Can you
love
believe
on
there's
YouTube.
people out there that actually think it's like we hate each other?
That's okay. We threw some salt on the wound. You know what I mean?
Oh, there will
Just,
be more salt. It's coming
there'll be
for
more
you.
salt. Okay, good. Well, I'm wearing a jiu-jitsu shirt because you're my jiu-jitsu friend.
All right.
So,
we are jiu-jitsu friends.
just so
I
you
can't
know.
wait to
How's your
roll with you
jiu-jitsu?
one day and get my I
It's okay.
rolled with my, I guess they call it professor, sensei,
Professor,
whatever you want to
yeah.
call it.
Yeah.
Just the other day.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? How does this, like, I was in a position I didn't even know where I was. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
He's obviously a black belt and I'm still a white belt. So what are you going to do?
But how's your training going otherwise? How many times a week are you going?
Between 1 and 4, usually 2.
2 is a good number.
So I'm in dad jitsu, right? Trying not to
Good.
hurt myself. So
That's good.
yeah.
I would say 2 times a week is enough to progress, enough to not get injured, enough to, be doing the things that, the socializing aspect of it. Like two times is enough. 4 times would be like you want to, be better than other people.
Aren't you
You want
sore?
to, you get like
Aren't you
your body
sore?
gets used to it. Right now I'm training for PANS. I'm going to Florida at the end of March.
Yeah.
And so it's like a pretty big tournament, second biggest in the US. And so now I got to train every day again. So I was training like 3-4 times a week, and then I started doing every day. My back's getting sore, everything's getting sore. I'm getting injured. I had a big black eye for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I was like,
I
oh
had
my
that.
God. But now I'm back to training every day, no matter what.
I'm thinking
Wow.
about doing a tournament before I hit blue, just to because I figure at blue there's no way I'm ever doing that. So we'll see.
No. You'll find out, like, the level just goes, and then like at white you'll be like, just with a bunch of white belts, and then you get to blue, and then you're like, oh my God, these guys are so good, and then eventually you're the best at the blue. So it's just progressive.
I
You
need
don't have to worry about it.
I need a seniors division.
Yeah, they got. I don't know what it's like out in BC. Now we have 3 divisions: 20 adults, so 18 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, and 50 to above. So that's 4 divisions. We have 3 masters divisions. That's in
There you go.
Ontario. In the IBJJF, it's every 5 years. So I don't know what you'd be, but don't worry about it. You'd be.
Sounds like you're
master
taking it
something,
serious, and I'm doing it to
and
get away from
and-
my kids for a couple hours a
and
week.
you'd have a 5-year span between you and the youngest and the oldest guys.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
good. So what's going on in BC?
Welcome to the Canadian Jiu-Jitsu show. I appreciate you guys having me on.
It's exciting. I'm sure everybody's still watching, 'cause that was like
Daryl's
just-
doing out.
Oh,
wow.
So what's going on?
Thank
What
That's
were we
like
talking
when I
about?
had to listen to
Are we
Darryl talk
done?
about baseball with Greg
What
Brady
were we
one
talking
time.
about before?
Right.
What can I interrupt you guys about today?
TK was just telling us how great an
A wholesome
agent he
story.
is and how
Yeah.
good the
A wholesome story. That's what most of my stories are about.
Did good this week? Got the best deal for your client this week?
I got a guy who's 92-year-old in the nursing home who wanted a certain number, and everyone told me it wasn't possible. And in the end, he was right, calling the shots from the nursing home. So
calling
Interesting.
the shots. What's happening out there? What's going on? I read this crazy story this morning. I don't know how close this is to you, that in Kelowna they don't have enough electricity to power the new buildings coming up.
That does sound like a crazy story that you would bring up. Yeah. No, I
Is
haven't
that
heard of that
happening?
one. I haven't
Near
heard of that one.
Kelowna? Are you near
I
Kelowna?
will say that we had a year and a half or 2 years ago, we had our NDP government bring in like the multiplex zoning, all this stuff, 4 units for every single family lot and all that. And it looks like the municipalities are like, that's a great story. Are you worried about the size of the sewer pipe that's running down the street? No? Okay, so you can build whatever you want wherever you want to build it now, except not if you want flushable toilets and enough electricity to power your. For some reason, we have to go to all heat pumps and no more gas furnaces and this sort of thing. So it's just fairy tale land. It's not
Wow.
realistic. It's not getting built, right?
So no, there's no multiplexes getting built. Like, is that just like, or just few and far between? Like, we got a bunch now.
I haven't seen many. We already had things like coach homes, right? So you already had a detached house with a basement suite and a rental over the garage. We had lots of that.
Okay.
So they're probably not that far off of that. But this
Yeah.
new zoning, I haven't seen it. I think in Vancouver and in Burnaby, you're starting to see more of that. But out in the burbs, we haven't seen it yet. We are stratified townhouses and condos, low-rise to mid-rise condos all over the place. Right.
Mm. And that market is doing what right now?
There's a lot of people that aren't happy. I'm meeting a whole lot of folks right now that I'm the least popular guy in the room when I go in because they don't like the prices. They're holding on to previous prices. The market's slow. It's not terrible. It is terrible in a couple of spots, actually. I know your audience is going to love where the market's terrible. So there is some condos we're seeing
trying to say?
Well, I read the comments. Come on. There is some spots where you're pre-2018 prices in investor style condos, that sort of thing.
Like resale 2018
No.
prices,
Pre-construction.
resale 2025 prices in some areas are the same.
Yeah, in the cookie cutter stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know if we've got the resale 2018 prices anywhere yet. That would just be pre-con, Daryl. Some of the pre-con
for
prices
sure.
now.
Yeah.
But only if you bought in spots where everything was like there's 500 of these available right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's like one building here sometimes, one project.
Yeah.
So there's a
So
lot
if
of
you
that
have a building,
downtown.
let's say there's 10 units per floor, and 4 of them are 2 beds, and the other ones there's 2 studios, and then there's the rest are 1 beds. Every single floor you have that exact same floor plan. So you're in competition with 15 units in your building that have your exact same floor plan. So
It's
how
more like
high are
40.
you? Right,
Yeah.
like it's how high are you? Which direction are you facing? Is your only differentiating factor, and that's
Well, and
still
how
4 other
desperate.
people the same as you.
Yeah, how
I don't
desperate
see
is the
desperate.
seller?
I
You
don't
don't
see
see desperate sellers
I
here?
don't see desperate at all. I see a bunch of people not wanting to come to terms with where value is.
Not desperate yet.
Welcome to real estate, guys. It's like regular. I've never met a seller who didn't have the nicest, best house on the street. Still to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They give you the tour. They walk you through, like they're trying to sell it to you.
The hard sell to me. I'm like, guys,
Yeah.
I'm going to be on your side. You
Yeah,
don't have to do me the hard sell, right? I'm not the buyer. Don't give me the hard
We had to
sell.
wait 3 months for this tile to come in,
Yeah,
You can't get this tile at the store when you just go there. We went there, we saw that tile, it's crap.
I had a guy.
We ordered this.
This guy was years ago, but he had owned this house since 1968, and he paid $28,000 for it in 1968. And he was walking me through, and he's like, when I bought this house, I paid the extra $300 and got the electrical upgrade. This isn't like a 40 amp service, this is like a 100 amp service down here.
How much? Jesus.
And I was like,
how much
well,
that is now? Yeah.
That's really going to make the difference here, guys. So
Yeah, that's amazing. So Daryl's question though was like desperate sellers. So like no power of sales, people losing their homes. Like
we have to
we're
put
dealing
this
with
to
that
rest.
like
We have to
crazy
put this
right now.
power to sale thing to rest because you guys in Ontario do this crazy stupid thing. I was doing research on it. I asked ChatGPT what a power of sale is.
Okay.
And
what do you guys call it? Forbearance, foreclosure? What do you call it?
Foreclosure. Compared it to the foreclosure, and ChatGPT was so wrong about the foreclosure process in BC. It was crazy. There's all these rumors like the bank keeps any access. That's not true. Access all goes back. I think the main difference has been you guys seem to get approval to sell the property that doesn't need to be reapproved by the judge upon the offer. Our offer needs to be accepted by the judge, right?
Okay.
So like they have to approve the price and show that the marketing was done.
I'll
it goes
tell you
back
the
to court
process.
twice.
Yeah. So once you get you put up a notice of sale and basically say like, hey, you're behind this much time. We are gonna, basically take over the property and we're going to apply to the courts to be able to get it done. So then they make an application where they get a statement of claim. You got 21 days to fight it, to say, hey, I can pay or whatever it is. Once the statement of claim isn't contested, or if it is contested and the owner loses and the lender wins, then they get a writ of possession, and once the writ of possession signed, they can go to the enforcement office and have the sheriff remove you from the property, and then they can just sell the property with that writ of possession, and they can just make sure they get the most amount of money for it, no approval from the courts, like you said, and then whatever's left over, the seller gets. But first, if it's a first mortgage, they have to also notify the second mortgagee.
So it sounds like the process is very much the same, except
Yeah.
for sometimes the owner stays in the house
Yeah.
here, and then we only get, I guess, an approval to market the property, like the lawyer or the banker, I guess, or whoever gets approval to market the property. And then when we get the offer,
Yeah.
it has to be subject to court approval again. So we
So-
got to go back to court another time.
When the writ of possession is given and the seller leaves the property, they can still have another real estate agent list the property for sale. And the bank can also be selling the property as well, because the seller has the right to redeem themselves before the title is transferred. And so sometimes you'll see two listings. You'll see John trying
But
to
we
sell it
don't
with
have
his,
that.
with his
We're granted
cousin.
what do they call it? We're granted conduct of sale,
Okay.
but then it needs approved after. So
Yeah.
so that's the process, which I'm sure, again, if they didn't like the jiu-jitsu talk, they're timed out on that too.
Well, we got to
seeing them?
educate them.
Are we seeing them? Probably no, not really. I mean, I've always done 2 or 3 or 4 a year. It's, I've got a good amount of mortgage brokers. They're used as a tool, right? Mortgage brokers through, say, Scotiabank or through CIBC or whoever, they use it as a tool to give out to realtors to try and get reciprocal business going back and forth. So we get a few of those a year. I had a doozy, if you want to hear a story. But are they situations where people, bought at the peak and can't pay their mortgage or whatever? No, they're not. They're not those at all.
Yeah.
I think the last one I did, which was just this January, was likely mortgage fraud. I'm assuming.
Daryl's eyes lit up there.
Yeah. So it's weird though. So it appeared, and I only got involved in the last sale, right? I don't know the record of the property. But it appeared like the property went through foreclosure in construction. And then somehow the owner that owned it when we sold it was picked up the property and then also went through multiple foreclosures and then redeemed each time since then. And that was, I want to say, 7 or 8 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So this was kind of the final straw. This was
Good for him.
I'm assuming that what they did is this last time they may have fraudulently got a mortgage somehow and then never paid to a big bank,
Oh boy.
to one of the big banks that may or may not have been covered in that news story 2 years ago.
Yep. Good old
And
Cyrano.
then I guess, you just don't pay enough. He didn't even live in the house. It was tenanted house, right? Anyway, so it goes to court. It was just a battle. If you want to hear about the battle, go listen to the Tom Story Show episode about it. And
Don't.
the craziest part was, don't do that.
The what?
The
Is
craziest
this thing
part,
on? Are you
the
guys? Do you guys see I'm
craziest
here?
part
You
about
guys
this whole
know I'm
thing
here, right?
is,
Can you see?
get this. So the
Okay.
tenant is in the property. The tenant is in the property. The tenant leaves, I want to say midnight the day before possession. So the property's already completed. But then the possession's the next day. The tenant tosses the keys back to the owner. Right? Which I guess he should do. I mean, he's not the owner.
Yeah.
The owner goes into the property and strips this thing with 12 hours to go. Garage door gone, appliances gone.
Yeah.
You
Copper.
name it, right?
Copper pipe,
didn't do
yeah.
that. Did break a few windows, threw
Yeah.
all garbage and stuff in the backyard. And the icing on the cake, almost literally, is I don't know if he stood on the kitchen island or what he did, but he pissed all over the kitchen.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Right? Really
Gonna
get. So there's
go.
a special place in hell for this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he tried to redeem the day before the court order. Like, it was just a disaster. So I tell people, stay away from all that stuff.
Yeah. You don't want to buy most
particularly
power sales.
a power sale or a foreclosure when there's someone still in the unit.
Yeah.
The risk you're taking on isn't it? Like, they can pour concrete down the drains on the day of
Right.
possession, and
Oh,
you have
God.
no recourse.
Oh my
And the
God.
bank is like, as is where is.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
So,
my God.
but that guy was in trouble since 2017. He's been dealing with this thing, right?
Yeah.
So, is there any of those missed payments and stuff yet? No. I am seeing investors closing trying to sell properties after the fact. The cash flow is not there. The rental market's obviously coming down. And they're still just like, what do I do with this thing? So there is a spot where they're kind of trapped. They can't sell. They literally can't sell. Like, it's not like, how low do I need to go at this
But
point
what
in
type
time,
of
there's
product are we talking about here?
mostly low-rise condos, wood frame, 6-story condos.
Oh,
And there's just a ton of them. Like, they've all
like
finished, they've
pre-construction
completed.
flips?
They were
Flipping
pre-construction at the peak of the market. So
Oh.
they were 21, 20. They were likely 22. So top of the market. Purchase.
What's that price point? Peak of market per square foot.
Don't per square foot me. It's a
God
unit. It's a
damn.
2-bed unit and 2-bed, 2-bath
Residential.
unit. $700,000 to $800,000. Right. So it's a wood frame. Now it's ready, and now they're all completing at the same time. So they're all completing at the same time, and they're all competing for renters at the same time. So in this one area, then you get all these rents coming down too, because now there's 400 units for rent. Not a single person plan to move into these things.
So you're seeing that right now. Rents are coming down. That's definitely a thing.
Rents are definitely
we're seeing
down.
that too. It's anecdotal sometimes, but then you see some of the data. But the data on rentals are a little bit behind. But I'm seeing it like pretty clearly when I look at buildings. I can see like what it was last rented for and what they're asking now, and it's down from a year.
It's kind of weird though, like when you get a condo with a bunch of investors that plan to rent it out, how people perceive it as, oh my God, there's all these units available for rent at the same time. If I had built a purpose-built rental building with the same amount of units that came online at the same time, all available, everybody would be like, oh, nice, there's some inventory in this building to look at, right?
Yeah.
And you'd be like, oh, well, it should take, I don't know, a year to absorb.
What's the absorption rate on a purpose-built rental? That's what I would want to know.
Listen, the one I'm planning to build will be longer than a typical one downtown beside a subway. But I think most people are using a year right now to lease up to at least where you anticipate where you're going to be full
occupancy.
Right? Yeah. Your top occupancy level. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows? I mean, the more expensive, obviously, the longer it will take, but, I just don't understand why it's like, I get why it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing for all the investors, but for the market, it's like, it shouldn't be looked upon as any different than a brand new building comes up with a bunch of purpose-built rental units.
And then you think about it too, if you bought that place at the peak of the market and you were expecting this rent that the developer told you, which everybody knew was bullshit from the day one. This was
some guys were guaranteeing though. Yeah, some guys were guaranteeing.
Well, they still,
right?
they'll have to do that. Yeah.
So those people are like, well, it's not renting for what I imagined it would, and interest rates have gone up and all that stuff. But then I got guys I sold in the height of the pandemic resale units to that were renting for $1,800 a month, and they're re-renting them now because the tenant just left. And sure, they could have got $2,600 last year. And now they're getting $2,400, $2,450, $2,500. So sure, rents have come down. This landlord's like, I just got a $500 a month raise.
Right.
I'm stoked. Right.
Yeah,
so that's the reality of it. It's definitely not I mean, we're even seeing some of those units I talked about where we're seeing like 2018 pricing. They're almost going to cash flow neutral at 20% down, which is unheard of.
Cash flow neutral at 20% down.
Awesome.
So that's
wow.
all those
we've been waiting for this day. This is like,
right.
Whoa,
I'd never buy today because I'm waiting.
Good.
I'm waiting to cash flow.
I'm looking for a zero cap. Do you have any of those kicking around? Because that
not a zero
sounds
cap,
great.
The cash flow is neutral. Yeah.
What's
right.
Neutral
So
mean?
everybody was focused.
Zero cap, bro.
Cap rates are different. That's on the net income
cap
before
rates,
debt.
Fine.
Yeah, cap rates
0% return on investment.
Yes.
Wicked.
Yeah,
but
You're paying off your mortgage still.
This is good.
Your future appreciation could be there.
If it pays for itself, it's worth owning. Is this the mentality?
In major metropolitan cities,
where you can
it's
count
been a
on
long time since we saw that.
Right?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's been 10 years since we saw that.
I met with a past client who's an investor. Last night, I just saw him, and he was, you know, we were a couple of drinks in, and we were talking about investing, and he's like, dude, I want another one. I want another one. He's an older guy,
Another
older than I am.
drink?
Well, that too.
That
But
too.
he's like, he's addicted, right? He's like, I love this stuff. And I was like, you know, market's getting tight, like, or getting soft, I guess you would call it. And, you know, there's opportunities out there. And he just looks at me and goes, do you know how crazy it is that somebody's going to like, I did the math and I moved money around. And he's like, I bought an asset with less than 5% of my own money. He's like, I'm not sure what even the bank's doing half the time. But I'm owning assets without my money. He's like, this is the best thing ever. It's like, this is a no-brainer, right? So I think that's where a lot of people are. And I'm sure you guys experience this too. Sometimes the people that are the best at what they do, the top producing, for instance, real estate agents, the high-end, I want to say wealthy investors, a lot of the time they don't even really know what they're doing. Right? They're not getting into the granular, like every little line item and everything. They're going, oh, okay, I got the money for it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where they end up. And then
what level of investment are we talking about right now?
The average person who owns rental properties, Darryl, the average guy who owns rental properties has no idea what his cap rate is, has no idea what his internal rate of return is on the initial investment that he put in. He has no idea what his expectations on rent increases or appreciation or anything over the horizon. And he was just like,
these are not
I bought the house because they own a shit ton of real estate.
Yeah, they own a ton of real estate.
For the last 20, 30 years, they own multiple properties. They're not sophisticated by any means. They just had the guts to just keep on buying and buying and buying.
The old Portuguese
figured it out as
exactly right.
Where'd the money come from though? Like most of them were a mechanic or a baker, or they laid bricks, or
all of them were. Yeah,
just put it into a house. Put it into a house. Buy a house. Buy a house.
We're not talking about a full-time investor. We're talking about guys who invested in real estate over the last.
Now though? Can you still do that?
You still do that. Steve's having beers with a guy yesterday.
Yeah, he's doing it. He's bought plenty since then, right? So it's just when an opportunity comes up, he goes, oh, okay, I'll put my name on that loan and that lease or that whatever, that title.
Whatever.
And I'm gonna sit and guess what? He's still going to work every day. He's still plugging away. But he's not like he's got
a sophisticated napkin though, right? Like he's got a sophisticated napkin that he can go.
Okay, let me tell you about the smartest economist.
How much is my mortgage and how much is the rent? That's his napkin.
Yeah, totally. Let me tell you about the smartest economist ever. This guy was brilliant, absolutely an amazing dude. His name was Jorge from Nicaragua.
Not D. Trent.
No, this guy was a legit schooled U.S. school. I don't want to say Ivy
economics,
but like
PhD. We'll give him a couple letters after his name. Okay.
Super smart dude. He was the shipper receiver at a job that I used to work at. He knew everything about the economy. He knew everything about absolutely everything. Couldn't figure out how to get a better job.
Yeah.
Right? So you can have the armchair quarterbacks all you want, and then you get some guy who they think is the stupid painter, and he owns 7 units.
Yeah.
And he bought them 30 years ago, or he's bought one every 5 years. And that's what I always rage on.
My richest clients are like that. Like, I'm not dealing with like high profile CEO guys. You know, they got like their cousin or brothers in real estate.
But
I'm
those
just dealing
guys
with,
don't
the regular middle class guys, Darryl. They're worth 10, 15, 20 million. And they're just like, yeah, I bought that property. It was a great deal. It's power sale back in 1995. I don't know. I talked to my brother. He had some money. I bought it out a few years later.
If you ask that guy, he doesn't think he's an investor, right? That guy thinks I'm a guy that just bought a bunch of real estate and got lucky or was smart.
100%.
But like an investor, real investors buying like apartment buildings and like these guys are sophisticated as hell right now.
Back then, though, there's a lot of guys who bought. I got a 7-plex right now that I'm dealing with. No idea what they were doing, but they needed a place to live. So they bought the 7-plex. A couple family members moved in. Over the years, they moved out. It's the parents that are left there still. They own a great, multifamily building. And, I'm talking about all the things that I need to talk to them about, and it's going right over their head. They're just going,
There's no idea. They have no idea a lot of the time. And they're like,
they took care of the building.
How many times, though, TK, do you get picked to be the agent because they just like you better than the other guy?
Yeah.
That's what you
know, like, and trust.
how many times do you walk in and you're like, oh, you own two properties side by side that now we can maybe subdivide, we can maybe assemble or whatever. And you're like, well, what made you buy that property? Well, I don't know. Susan was moving. My kid needed somewhere to be for a bit, so I
Yeah.
just bought it.
Talked to her on the driveway. She said, you know, you guys want to buy or not? And at the
Yeah.
time, it made sense. It's just only been in the last few years, Daryl, that because real estate's been going up so much, it's become this high ticket, high priority item for people. So it's looked at a little bit of a different way. But honestly, from 1992 to 2014, no one really cared about real estate that much. It wasn't a big deal.
It
It
was
wasn't going to make you
different.
rich. It was just like, whatever, you know, like, yeah, maybe you do a few things here and there, but it wasn't the same craziness that it's been over the last 10 years.
No, but so there's a difference here. Okay. There's three categories of people back in the day, and maybe now there's some people that can do it, but they're just guys that know that if I just buy this, at some point it's going to be worth more, and I don't know what else to do with it, and it worked out beautifully. There's
Mhm.
people that analyze the shit out of it, find things that meet all the specs that they have, and you know, whatever the
buy.
percentage or IRR or whatever the fuck they're looking for, right? They pull the trigger with that. And then you got these fucking morons who are buying pre-construction contracts with the hope of this appreciation. They're like a hybrid, you know? They're like, they get a thing that looks like it's an investment performa in front of them. It includes all this appreciation and promises of prices always go up. And they're like,
Yeah.
okay, like, sure.
Okay, so let's compare that though to for instance the stock market. You've got these. You're the first guy you spoke
Oh, yeah.
about is
Even worse.
the guy that just buys in. I'm gonna get some S&P. I'm gonna buy some whatever. I'm gonna buy every month. I'm gonna buy a little bit of stock. Right. That's the first guy, and I'm just gonna buy it. I'm just gonna buy it. I'm just gonna buy it and hold it and buy it and
And
hold it.
hold it. Yeah.
Then you talk about the next guy who's like the hedge fund manager, and they're making bank because they know what they're doing.
Off
They're only
fees.
doing the good deals. They're moving what needs
Fees.
to be moved. And fees. They're balancing their portfolios. They're doing all that stuff. And the last guy you talked about is the guy who's like, "Oh, I'm a day trader."
Right. This is
And
the
that guy might
economy,
as
though.
that guy might as well be, you know, most day traders I've met are doing that because they can work no other job.
Mhm.
Right. And they lose their shirt and they don't tell anybody that they're losing their shirt every day. They're trying to guess which day Google's going to be high or, you know, try and pick the next NVIDIA or whatever they're good. But they're not. They're buying and selling every day. And that's not good either.
They all lose eventually.
The
Yeah.
best strategy is the guy that's just like, yeah, I'm just going to buy another one, hold
That's
it for
it.
20 years. And that's it.
Hold
And
it.
people hate to
Hold it.
hear how simple it is.
Index
Yeah.
funds. Yeah.
One of, we had on Chris Slightum from Royal LePage Signature, and his whole thing on the Tom Story show when he was on was like, just own an asset in your retirement that's paying you money. Who cares what it costs you between now and then? Right? Like at some point, you're going to have an asset that's paid off, that's going to be generating. Like you can bother yourself with all this nitty gritty little stuff to worry about every single day.
Yeah, but okay, so hold on a sec. A big distinction is those guys, the first group of guys, they bought it with cash. Okay, so they could rent it for whatever the fuck, it didn't matter. They paid it for cash. The other group, it's like who you were talking about, where it's like, okay, it breaks even every month. We're cool just hanging on to this thing. And that's a good investment. Maybe it gets better over time. Maybe they make a couple $100 on the thing every month at the beginning. But it's not the same as a guy that just goes, fuck, I make so much money because I work so hard every goddamn day. I don't know what to do with this shit. I'll buy a house.
You
I
can't
can
be the
rent it
guy
for
that buys it
anything.
in all cash, though, if you're never the guy that strung it together by cash flow and neutral at the beginning, right? You have to
No,
build
no, no.
something up.
No,
You can't,
back in the
you don't
day,
just
these
magically come
Europeans-
across. Nah, come on.
Yeah,
At
they
some
saved
point,
up 20 grand. They bought a house. They saved up 40 grand. They bought a house. There's all these guys, or they, like
Mortgages.
TK's saying, they buy a house to live in it and rent out like the 3 other apartments. And then
Mhm.
from there, they do something like that. But these guys are buying it with cash because these are guys that don't want debt. They like work a business that just produces money.
I never met those guys. I'm sure they're out there,
Really?
but I never met those guys.
Oh
But
my
I
God.
do meet a lot of guys who have a
They never
huge
sell. Never sell. Never sell.
distaste. They don't sell a huge
They never
distaste
sell.
for debt. And so they're like, I bought the house, and then within 4 years, I paid off the mortgage. Within 6 years, I paid off the mortgage. Like they're just like they can't handle debt. It like puts stress on them so much, so they just go to work and they just chomp down on that mortgage like hard. And so that's what they do. But they use their job income, their T4 income, to pay it down.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then there's the other side of it. Then this is why I hate this. I hate it when people say, well, real estate makes no sense because it's not tied to income. It's detached from median income, average income, household income, whatever you want it to be.
Increase in
You mean the
like
prices right now
the
don't
gap.
make sense because of the
They're not
affordability
4
factor.
times median income or whatever
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, yeah.
There
Okay.
is zero reason why real estate prices need to be tied to average income.
That's right.
There
No
is
shit.
no reason for it.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, let me give you an example here. I'm full of bad analogies today.
Okay.
Welcome.
I'm in the right place. What does a brand new GT3 Porsche 911, is that the right thing? What does that cost these days? $380,000. Who knows?
TK just bought one. Ask him. TK just got
right?
one last week.
I got a good deal on it. Yeah.
So
265.
people say, well, that's what it's worth. Well, to me, it's not worth that at all. But to the guy willing to pay it, it's worth that. Real estate is the exact same thing. We don't realize how many people have stupid amounts of money that are willing to pay. And there are, right? I was talking to a neighbor of mine, and he's in financial investigations for a policing service. And they were talking to a retailer. The retailer is a very high-end retailer, and they actually are so high-end that they throw private parties. So think about this. You have a store, and you throw private parties, and you give away your friends' shopping sprees in very expensive stores. The party that they were doing that week was for a dog's 1-year-old birthday party, and it was $500,000 party.
$500,000 for a fucking dog?
He made it to one.
So 1-year-old dog,
Holy.
what an accomplishment. So anyway,
it's a
what
bark
I'm
mitzvah.
A bark
it's a 13-year-old
mitzvah?
dog, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But so now that's obviously an exaggeration on the high end, crazy end of the spectrum. But if you think you're having a 1-year-old 500,000 dog bark mitzvah, I'm assuming a $4 million property in Vancouver is not that big of a stretch for these people.
Right.
Right.
Sure.
So there are people out there that have money, and there's zero reason why. For me, that Porsche, I will never spend more than $30,000 or $40,000 on a vehicle. I never have in my life. Never will. Maybe I'll have to with inflation. Who knows? But at some point in time, somebody
Those Porsche drivers, right, TK? Those Porsche drivers.
You can also rent it.
worst.
Did you buy
They're
a
the
Porsche?
worst.
No.
No.
But you can rent it
Do
though.
that. Why would I buy a Porsche?
TK is more of like a Dodge.
I'm looking
Caravan
at
type guy.
there's a Porsche outside my window
You could
right there.
you
I don't know
you
whose it is.
you could rent one and drive it and then go, okay, I got my experience with that, you know? Yeah.
It's not that model you were talking though. That's for damn sure.
But to somebody that's worth it, and to that person that's worth it, they have the money.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the same thing. So we need to stop thinking that real estate is tied to incomes at all, because there's no reason for it.
Well, the reason is for the people that want to live in the places they can't afford. They need something to say, right?
Yeah, they're angry that they can't afford it.
Right. I mean, look around. How many cities are there on the planet where income and cost of housing are nowhere near each other, right? Like Toronto, Vancouver, these are just new on the list, right? Worldwide, right? So, but if you want affordable, like there's so many places to go, even in the same province, right? There's no issue. There's an issue in like 4 cities, really, right? Maybe a few suburbs. It's a little crazy, but that's exactly why they can be disconnected in those few places, because they seem fairly connected in most of the other places. The real problem, I think, was in COVID. Like even the outskirts went fucking bananas, right?
It went
nuts. And then all of a sudden you had people in the far outreaches of the province going, I can't afford to live near where I work now. I got to go further. Right. And so you had all these people going, oh shit, I can't afford where I want to live. I got to go further. I got to go further. I got to further, until you get like to somewhere where there's no work, and that's no good. And so then what? Right. And then TK always brings up, well, the nurses and doctors, they got to be able to get to the hospitals, which just makes sense. But you don't want them living in Barrie if they live, or wherever I don't know where the hell it is in Vancouver, but you don't want them living an hour north from Toronto and having to commute in every day for the important people. But they have to, because the important people, we got to squash their income potential, right?
Are you a real estate agent and you're looking to make a change? Anywhere in Ontario, guess what? We're hiring. Frankly & Associates, #1 team in the GTA for all RE/MAX teams, #1 team for all teams from all companies for number of units sold throughout Toronto. So if you're looking to make a change, best decision I ever made was to join Frankly & Associates. Go to jointeamleo.com and we can set up a call. So even though, Steve, I agree with you wholeheartedly that the real estate market does not need to be tied to income whatsoever, and that it's an open market and that people will pay what they deem the value of the real estate is, I believe it should be. I think that in a logical sense, for the reason that Darryl just mentioned, is that there should be affordable housing for everybody. Right. And that there should be, if you make $60,000 a year with the fill in the blank job that's an essential service in the city, you should be able to afford some sort of reasonable housing. Like, we can't just be like, well,
how much?
It's
60?
$60,000 a year. I don't know, like whatever, 80,000, 100,000, you name the number, whatever the number is for that person working that average job, they should be able to afford a place to at least rent or own or something that makes sense for them and their family to live here, like it was before. Like it's logical. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it does make sense that we would have those options for people, because you can't just be like, well, too bad, it's $5,000 a month rent and your 60 grand is gone. Like, it's just, you can't do that, and it's not sustainable. Eventually society, collapses, and we may be on the verge of that. That just might be the way, these major cities, like, we're already short on doctors. Go find a doctor, like, go find a doctor in Ontario. I don't know what it's like in BC, but go find a doctor.
It's terrible in BC, even though the government's telling us otherwise. It is
Right.
terrible.
Oh.
So we got all these little things that are these nuances of life that are slowly slipping away from us as time goes on. And we're going, well, it's not like it was before. It's not like it was before. And that they will continue to get pushed out. Like, the baby boomers are by far the biggest real estate owners. They're the largest, skilled trades. They've got like nurses. Like, how many baby boomers are still nurses, right? Business owners. Like, just imagine when the baby boomer generation is gone, right? What the landscape of our workforce looks like.
Yeah, but just then the older people will own stuff. Like, that's
look
what
like
gets
robots.
lost. What gets lost, right? That the thing I hate right now, and currently I think it's mostly the Liberal government that's doing it, but they're trying to find generational fairness. There is no such thing as generational fairness. You start off young with nothing, and you build yourself up, if you do it right, to have a whole bunch of shit when you're old and a bunch of money that hopefully you can pass on to your kids because you've built some sort of legacy, right?
Yeah.
Where we
And
get
if you didn't
stuck,
do that, then you screwed up. You should
No,
blame
if
yourself.
if you say work
100%.
harder, you're a dickhead, Work
Well,
harder. No, what do you mean work
How
harder?
dare you? She should be on fixed rent.
but what
Right,
you're
sorry.
doing there, TK, when you're saying that is
Being insensitive.
the expression is you were shooting all over yourself. This should be that way. This should be that way. This should be that way. No, it's not.
Should. I thought you said
Right.
I'm not
No,
saying it is or
it-
will be or could be. It's one of those situations where, like, that it would make sense for a healthy society to have everyone with an equal opportunity to own housing. That's just how it should work. So we talked about the high-speed train, which nobody liked to hear about the high-speed train, but this would be a way to be able to connect more cities to where the jobs are. So if you can live in Hamilton and jump on a high-speed train and be there in
You know why
40
that train's
minutes,
coming in, right?
why?
more
politicians
Well, apparently
from-
it's not coming in. Everyone
The
says,
politicians from
fraud.
Ottawa need to be able to get back to Toronto and Montreal faster.
well, there's
so
no
it's just for-
stop in Ottawa, yeah, but Toronto
Right,
and Ottawa,
Yeah, it goes right through
Toronto,
Ottawa.
Montreal.
They got
Goes right through
tenanted,
Ottawa, I thought.
they got
No,
tenant issues.
Peterborough, Kingston, and Montreal. That's what I heard.
Oh, it's
Ottawa's
Quebec
not kind of on the way.
City.
Ottawa's a little bit off the route. But
Up
regardless
to
of what it
Quebec
is,
City.
hopefully the train will go to Ottawa eventually. Hopefully it'll go and there'll be this
Going
interconnected
nowhere.
web of high-speed trains where you can say, I can live in Ottawa and have a job in Toronto, have an office in Toronto. I can live in Peterborough. Like Peterborough would be a great place because it's just like about an hour and change outside of the GTA where the prices are a lot cheaper, right? And it's like a big rural area. Like there's no like, high density there. And so you'd be able to really build that up really quick. You could do a bunch of subdivisions and you can have everybody getting on high speed trains going into the city.
How do they get to the train station?
Or
You know what, Steve? Like, I'm not a city planner, okay? Like,
I'm not a
I
doctor,
don't even
Jim.
know where they're gonna
I'm a
put
doctor.
the
It
train
just
station
goes
there.
to a parking lot somewhere.
But they'd have lots
This
of
is how
parking
it
lots,
is.
and everyone would
Yeah.
drive from the neighboring suburban subdivisions into the train station, and that would solve a lot of issues. We do need to have people coming from. We need people in affordable housings. Like it just the what we're witnessing this, and this is the truth because we've witnessed it now firsthand. Once interest rates went up, and everybody had to start now paying 2, 3, times more than what they expected to as far as interest going to the bank every year. That money just disappeared out of their pockets. They weren't they didn't have the money to do the things that they wanted to do, and they weren't getting anything from it. They weren't paying any more principal down. They weren't getting a bigger house. Like it was just going to interest for that house that they live in. Once that effect happened, we all got a really good taste of how it takes money out of the economy and then how everything else starts to suffer. And that's, essentially
Which, to
what's going
be
to happen if
fair, you're in
housing
my
becomes more
generation.
affordable.
You're in my generation, TK, before this, have never experienced that. So they just thought money was just free, and it was just, this is how it works. Everybody just gets some money, and I should have some money. And that's not the case. Like, I actually view this time in our economy as being poor, interest rates going up like, this is our learning moment for anybody that's somewhere hopefully between 25 and 45 years old, right? Like that's where they should go, oh, wait a minute, it's not always roses on the other side, right? Like for instance, our government's learning that right now. We've been dependent on the states for 50 years. And now all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, don't worry about that climate change stuff. We got to worry about the orange angry guy down south. They've been complacent in this whole thing this whole time. So have we as a generation. We have been like, yeah, sure, you should go out and buy. You make 60 grand a year, you should buy a $70,000 vehicle. Like that math doesn't make sense. But it's there, and I actually think this is a good thing overall as a learning lesson for a bunch of folks that made really bad decisions. Unfortunately, they weren't educated earlier on in life about how money works. That's a downside. That's a very bad thing. The only thing I'm worried about right now with my kids is no drug addicts. Teach you how money works. If you can do those 2 things and hopefully go to work every day, if you can do those 3 things, like you're set for life.
My son just turned 13, so we started our weekly urine test, our urine screening. You should try it. Yeah.
What?
Weekly urine screening. You know what I mean? Just to make sure. To say,
Right
you doing
after
drugs?
they-
Nope. Here's a cup. I'm
Okay,
gonna
no.
find out
They-
for sure.
I
Make
mean,
their beds and polish their boots and stand up at the edge of the
my
bed.
thought
and
is
salute.
just,
Yeah, he's gotta get
I
a
wasn't
haircut
going to
like
go urine
mine.
testing. I was
Yeah.
definitely like, I figure not too many drug addicts had dinner with their family every night. So like dinner with the families, my urine test. If you want a urine test in your,
I don't believe it. I don't buy
I
the
don't know
story.
if that's a good
I'm joking, I'm
metric.
joking.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what about like if there were jobs being created somehow and incentivized job creation? And don't we need some infrastructure in this country again, like some new infrastructure? Couldn't we really get this? I mean, instead of just throwing money at people like in what's it called? What's the free money thing called? When everybody gets free money? Anyways,
Serb?
UBI. Instead of
Terrible.
stupid schemes like that bullshit and helping all these immigrants, can't we just create jobs for these people so that they can be productive?
You can
right?
create
Like,
jobs.
what's
It's a
going
very
on?
easy way to create jobs. There's one way in my way of thinking of where you can create jobs, and only one.
Yeah,
You have to reduce the amount of taxes.
reduce the taxes.
You have
On
to.
who? Everybody? Yeah.
Everybody. Who
Everybody.
can
Especially
start-
businesses.
Like if you
specifically businesses,
Mhm.
taxes of household income coming home so people can actually work, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the argument against minimum wage, right? Like minimum wage is okay, you have to pay this someone so much money or it's illegal for them to work. So if they can't bring you, I think it's $17.50 now of value within an hour, it's illegal for me to employ them.
What?
Does that make sense?
I mean, it
No,
should
say it
be.
again. Explain it to me
Yeah.
like I'm an idiot. Okay.
So if
Don't make it
just
look like
tried.
it's that easy.
Yeah, he just tried. You didn't get it.
So if I'm a business owner and my
Yeah.
employee can't provide me $17 and whatever it is, 50 cents worth of value,
Okay.
I can't employ them, right? Because my business will go. So if
Sure.
they can't
So their
provide me what
workload is producing revenue
some sort
for
of
the
value
company.
to me, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So if they can't do that, it's illegal for me to give them a job because I can't give them a job at less than 17 whatever dollars an hour.
Oh, I see. Right. Yeah,
Right.
it's illegal
So-
because minimum wage is $17.50.
So what
if
do we
you
end
can't
up
produce
with?
$17.50, you end up with a bunch of people that,
We end
will
up with
take
gig work.
$17.50.
The
We
ones
end
if
up
you've
with
got
gig
like
work.
one guy who's generating like $2,000 an hour for the company and you're only paying him 40, but you need a bunch of little minions running around him who are only creating $5
Well, that's
an hour.
your overall business,
is
right?
general,
But
yeah.
like, I'll give you an example. In our I don't know if you guys how many administrators and that sort of thing you have, but we have enough
There's a
business
couple.
where I would love to, reduce the amount of admin work, right? But I want to hire a full-time employee again. That would be great.
Yeah.
But if there's this level of what I can afford to pay you is the same as what you'll get at Tim Hortons, now I'm only getting a Tim Hortons level employee, and I can't have a Tim Hortons level employee,
Mhm.
right? Like I can't have that person handling contracts, having client information, right? All this stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's
they
just
can't even
created.
get the order right. They give me a coffee instead of a tea. I said, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
I said, "I ordered an orange pico,
Yeah.
and this smells like coffee."
And then they
Well,
screw
so
it up.
enter ChatGPT, right? Enter ChatGPT or some other form of AI in a lot of cases now.
But how about you reduce my cost as a business of which I'm paying taxes?
Yeah.
Right? How about you reduce my cost so then I can have the ability to do that? Because what the government wants you to believe is if you reduce my cost, I just buy a new yacht.
So you can
Well,
pay
no,
that
they-
employee more, and you
no,
can get a better
they-
quality employee above
Yeah.
the Tim Hortons level. Quality.
Right,
Absolutely.
but
And we can't
the
even
go-
invest anymore because they're ratcheting up the within a corporation, you can't invest anymore. They're ratcheting up the capital gain on that, which by the way failed and may or may not come in. But like everything. So let's say for instance, I don't know if you guys incorporate there, TK, but we do often here. So if I have a good year, and let's say I put away $100,000 because I have no pension, I have no nothing, and I put it in the bank, and that's just my emergency fund or my eventual retirement. And I put that in a savings account, and I make 5% on it, which is not possible anymore. But let's say it.
Not
The
possible.
government takes 52% of that $5,000 that I make next year in interest. So the government
Corporate?
takes $2,500.
Corporate,
Personal.
the business. It should just be a flat rate of 50% on that.
Well, 50. Okay, so it's
On
50%.
capital gains businesses, yeah, it's flat rate.
Yeah,
50.
so I've been a good little saver.
Yeah.
And I put my money away so I wouldn't have to rely on government in the future, like some sort of government assistance or something. And they're scraping off 50% of whatever profit I have.
Crazy.
It's absolutely insane. So they're
After they already
disincentivizing.
taxed it, no? Like on 8
Yeah, yeah,
other
no,
this is
levels.
staying in the
this has already been
corporation,
income
so
taxed.
it's
This
your
has already
active
been income taxed. This is
corporation
just
in-
my savings now.
It's your active corporate income, so you
Right,
pay
but it's on
12.2%
your
on
own,
it.
right? But it's on after-tax money that you invest, and now
But you pay
make more money,
12.2% on it.
and they
yeah.
fucking take. It's so crazy. And then, listen, along the way, it's taxed 18, 20, 80 different times as it goes.
Yeah.
Every time it changes hands somewhere, there's a tax on it somehow, at least one.
Yeah.
It's so insane. Did you ever see that video of that young girl that went viral, maybe probably on Instagram, TikTok, where the girl's like, hold on a second. So you mean that if I get paid $25, the government's going to tax that $25, and then I'm going to go buy something with it, and I'm going to get taxed more money. And then the guy that accepts the $25 is going to get taxed on that. And then she's like, holy shit, like this is crazy, right? I mean, and then you're talking about businesses saving on tax. Like I'm telling you, I don't know how many pro formas you guys look at for new construction projects, but like on some of these big but it's insane. Like millions of dollars in development fees. What do they do? Because I have 800 units or 300 units. What's the city doing differently? Why am I paying $4 million more on this site versus this site? Because there's more units or more density or what the fuck?
I couldn't believe it. So I was talking to a developer I've worked with in the past, and he was helping a guy cut a parcel out in the sticks into 50 lots, 50 lots. So he's had this thing forever. He's like, okay, I'm going to make some housing with this. I'm going to sell off these 50 lots. So he walked through everything. My developer helped him. So I guess he had a consulting fee or whatever. Everything was done. They did all their numbers. Everything was perfect, ready to go to the city. Here's your development charges. Here's your park fees. Here's your whatever. The city, township, I guess, came back on final approval and said, you're all ready to go. We're happy to tell you that as soon as you pay your, get this, voluntary development fee, you are approved and ready to go. And they said, okay, well, we never knew about this voluntary development fee. What is this?
What a name.
By the way, also,
do you get to set the voluntary amount of this
like
fee?
If you want to volunteer to develop the land, you get to pay this fee, in other words.
Yeah.
So 50 lots, $7.5 million.
Oh, God.
Guess what development didn't get done?
Yeah.
Right? Like you just screw the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but this is one line item. Do you understand from the government? There are so many.
This is after the millions they've already paid to the city for this development.
But it's like, what are we getting for? I'm putting in an application, right? TK's mentioned a bunch of times that, okay, there's 10 there now. There's going to be 400. Like the taxes that get generated alone is worth just saying like, here, do it for free. Like hurry the fuck up and generate these taxes.
We want to generate that income forever.
What's going on here? But instead it's like, well, you know, you need a access tax and an air tax and a section 37, and we need an agreement in place for the sewers. And then we got to do that. And then if there's not capacity on sewers, then it's like, oh my God, now you need $8 billion to upgrade the sewers. And it's like one thing after the other, but charge after charge. Now there's a CBC charge, community benefit charge. That's like,
you're making a pretty good argument for some sort of government efficiency office, aren't you, Darryl?
Well, you know, it's funny you say that, Steve, because
we wouldn't need as much tax revenue if we got rid of all the fraudulent fucking bullshit.
100%. 100%.
Right? It's like, but I got a feeling that whatever we see in the States, it's probably twice as bad here because it doesn't look like a third world country, but we are treated as one. We are a resource rich, like money poor, over indebted, ridiculous species up here in the north that is just being purely taken advantage of by everybody. And it's crazy. And the only way out of it is for some guy to fly in like Trump and rip shit apart and
100%.
dismantle everything. But what's going to happen? We're going to end up with Carney some fucking how. I don't even know.
I don't know how you guys in Toronto are going to vote that guy in. You guys in Toronto and Montreal are single-handedly going to vote that guy in and think he's a better option.
Dumb fucks, right? These dumb motherfuckers here.
Not a chance.
I don't know what's going on. We got
you know what's screwed up? Our country's so screwed up that somehow still Poilievre isn't going to be the next prime minister.
Imagine.
Right?
An unelected, and get this, what's the best part I'm seeing about him right now? Well, he's like, well, until I'm elected, I'm not going to disclose any of my financial interests.
Yeah.
And
it's when you're elected,
wait a minute. When you're elected, you legally won't be elected because you won't be a sitting member of parliament. So you're not going to disclose them until after you've been prime minister for 6 months?
Yeah. Listen,
I don't care what the heck he's got in his bank. I don't care if he speaks French or not. I don't care if he wants to bulldoze a whole bunch of people's properties to be able to drive a pipeline from east to west. None of that stuff. You know, like that is the biggest holdback that we've got, is that we've constantly got this criteria to meet in order to be able to have a decent prime minister, and the pool, it just keeps getting smaller and smaller. Like if you look
Mhm.
at, like, literally the liberals have an opportunity to be able to bring in like anybody. Like they've got this huge choice of people that they could
What
bring
about
in.
those
And
two people that they just took out of the race because
Yeah.
of bullshit, right?
but
Like the
that's what I mean. Like
Chandra dude.
the choices are so small, because once you finally break down all the criteria on who can get it and who, you know, we
When
got a
that guy,
hash dealing premier here in Ontario. We had, you know, Rob Ford in City of Toronto with his stuff
crackhead,
going on. Those are
yeah,
the guys who get things done.
Yeah.
Like drop
that's
the
right. They're
criteria. Like
motivated. They're
let's get
motivated.
people in there who are like, no
Well, hold
BS.
on.
I'm gonna. You get a career politician, and I'm for polyever, but you get these career politicians.
No, he's no
It's like to
good
actually
either.
make it that far without having all the problems. It's next to impossible. Our expectations are too high.
We had
Or
that Indian
Darryl
dude,
for prime minister.
Chandra, right? We had that, yeah, next time. Chandra, who did not speak French, and everybody went crazy because he was like, no, don't need French.
Yeah,
Carney doesn't speak French. Have you heard
right.
Not
this
very
guy speak
well.
French?
Get a
No, it's
freaking
not really
translator in
French.
there. Whatever he
It's one of those
says, tell them.
things.
Whatever they say, bring it back to
What
him.
a
What's the
shit show.
problem?
Now we're gonna end up with Carney and Freeland. Like, what a fucking disgrace. We're gonna
Did you
get
guys know
bombed.
that? Did you guys know that Carney is Freeland's kid's godfather?
Yeah, and Trudeau's
They're
like
all connected.
maid
that
of
crazy?
honor or something.
Yeah.
I think
Okay,
they're
well,
related somehow.
gentlemen, we
Little
we have
gay
to call it
together.
early today because I got places to go. So,
Pete has to
Steve, I want to
wrestle.
hear our last thoughts from you. Okay, 2025, the market.
Yeah.
All right, what do you see happening in the market this year from everything that you've been able to tell from the first 2 months?
I think there's going to be a ton more inventory. I think anybody that doesn't sell sooner is going to, if they have to sell for less later. I don't see anything that shows me prices are going up, or will for the next at least 6 months.
Mhm.
Who knows? I'm most likely going to be wrong, but if these tariffs indeed come in or don't come in or whatever the hell they're going to do, I don't think people realize how much that's going to slow the economy. And so where I'm focused right now with a lot of people I'm talking to sell is like, guys, if you believe that tariffs are coming and you plan on selling in the next couple of years, sooner the better,
Yeah.
because it's not going to, and people aren't taking that serious.
So you said
legit-
6 months, and then you said the next couple
That's
of
the
years.
I don't think
minimum.
we
He's
can
just saying-
ever I can never imagine what's going
Forecast.
to happen so
Yeah.
crazy more than 3 to 6 months out.
Yeah,
But for
sure.
the next foreseeable future, like it ain't getting better.
No.
And what I think is going to be there is the folks that see the opportunity in these bad times. For instance, if you don't lose your job and you were thinking about investing and interest rates are lower and prices are lower, the people that do make purchases within the next, let's say 6 to 18 months, are likely going to be the people that again look like geniuses in 10 years.
That's right,
Nice.
TK.
For no reason other than they just had the courage or stupidity to buy
That's
in
right.
a
down
bad
market.
a down
That's
market.
Steve, we will clip that and we will put you all over social media, and we will make sure that everybody knows your name. We appreciate
That's
you
right.
on the show today, guys.
Couple
if you're
of
watching,
tips
like,
from the
comment,
pros.
and subscribe. Check out Steve's channel, the Steve Karish Show on
That's not
Sunday
what it's
mornings.
called.
Oh yeah, it's
Sunday
called the Top
mornings?
Story Show. There's another guy on the show too, but
The
Steve is the
Karish
main
Real
guy.
Properties channel. Check that out. Tom
And
Story
check out
can
his
go to
his
hell. You
personal
heard it here
channel
first.
as well too.
Tom's story can go to hell.
Go to hell, Tom Story. But guys, I
Son
gotta
of a
go. I
bitch.
love you both.
I love you too.
TK, enjoy. Love you too.